Discover how a poor janitor's unexpected request changed the CEO's mute daughter's life forever. Every night, as skyscrapers glittered against the deepening sky, Jack donned his worn-out shoes, ready for another round of scrubbing the gleaming floors of the corporate high-rise in downtown Chicago. The soles, frayed and thin, told stories of long nights and aching feet, each scuff a reminder of a life locked in the cycle of toil. Jack, a hard-working janitor in his late 30s, believed in hard work and integrity, but as he dusted the empty offices after hours, his dreams felt like shadows slipping away. At home, his loving but financially strained family awaited him. His kids, full of brightness and curiosity, looked to Jack like a hero, completely unaware of the pressure that weighed on his heart. Each evening, he'd gather them close, tucking them in, whispering promises of a better tomorrow, even when he feared in his gut that nothing would ever change. Meanwhile, in the upper echelons of that very building, Emma, the CEO's mute daughter, drifted through life like a ghost, her vibrant thoughts lost in silence. Burdened by expectations and isolation, her world spun with bright ideas trapped without the means to express them. As she adapted to the dismissive glances from her father and the corporate elites at events, she yearned for a way to bridge her thoughts and the world around her. One evening, during a grand corporate event, Jack heard muffled voices through the polished glass doors of a conference room. Curiosity pulled him closer, and he peered inside. Emma stumbled over her words, trying to convey her innovative ideas to her father and the top executives. Frustration flickered across her face as she faltered, her mouth moving without sound. A surge of empathy washed over Jack. It was in that fleeting moment, seeing a woman like Emma, burdened by silence, he recognized a mirror of his own struggles. He couldn't just stand there. With a racing heart, he walked into the room. "Can I help?" he asked, his voice trembling. Emma blinked, surprised, and nodded slowly. "I want to show them but I can't," she mouthed, the depth of her despair evident. "Let me mentor you," Jack suggested, the word surprising even himself. In a place where worlds seemed to clash, an unlikely partnership was forged. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jack embarked on a mission to teach Emma different ways to channel her emotions through art, through coding, through creating. Their bond deepened, transforming from a quiet understanding into a vibrant collaboration. Yet, the corporate world wasn't ready to embrace their friendship. Whispers became murmurs, and murmurs evolved into sharp skepticism, especially from Emma's father, whose grip on tradition stifled any sign of change. At home, Jack navigated questions from his family, who struggled to comprehend his connection with the CEO's daughter. Would they lose the tight-knit community they fought for? For every joyful moment with Emma, Jack wrestled with doubt, fearful of the consequences of their unconventional friendship. Then came the day when their bond faced the ultimate test. Emma's father discovered their collaboration and confronted Jack in a fury that could shatter glass. As anger flared, Jack looked at both Emma and her father, trapped in a tempest of emotion. Would his aspirations mean leaving his family behind? Could Emma muster the strength to overcome the weight of expectations? As tension throbbed in the air, they stood on the precipice of revelation, questioning if they could rise against the chains of their differing worlds. Would they find a way to defy the odds, or would their dreams be drowned in darkness? Jack's heart raced as he faced Emma's father. The confrontation was like standing on the edge of a cliff, and every instinct told him to step back. But this time, the stakes felt too high. He had committed to Emma, to her hopes, her dreams, and the flicker of possibility he saw in her eyes. "Stay away from my daughter," the CEO hissed, his voice low and steady, like thunder rumbling before a storm. "You don't belong in her world." The weight of those words slammed into Jack, but he stood firm. "All I want is to help her find her voice," he replied, his own voice surprisingly strong amidst the tension. Emma has brilliance inside her. She deserves a chance. Emma's father stepped closer, his expression a mixture of anger and protectiveness. Brilliance won't shield her from the mess of this world. You risk everything. What do you know of her challenges? Jack swallowed hard. He felt the blood drain from his face as he remembered his own struggles, the fistful of dreams slipping through his fingers nightly as he scrubbed floors. I know what it's like to fight against the odds, he said quietly, holding the CEO's gaze. And I know what it means to be unheard. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Jack felt a surge of hope. Maybe the truth could pierce through the heavy armor that surrounded this man. Emma stood just behind Jack, her eyes wide. She was caught in a crossfire of conflicting emotions: her father's protective ferocity and the man who dared to stand up for her. She took a tentative step forward, her hands moving gently in the air, forming shapes of her thoughts. Dad, she began, the challenge evident in her silent gestures. He sees me. He understands. The CEO's expression softened for just a moment, a crack in his armor of authority. But then it hardened again, his voice cold. You will regret this. He stormed out, leaving the tension hanging like smoke in the air. Jack turned to Emma, vulnerability etching her features. I can't promise you anything, he murmured, unsure of what lay ahead. But I believe in you, Emma. Tears brimmed in her eyes. Perhaps for the first time, someone saw beyond her silence. Jack felt something raw and powerful spark between them. They both stood on a precipice. They could tumble over the edge into despair or soar together. Days turned into weeks. The corporate world was heavy with whispers and scrutiny. Yet, Jack and Emma carved out moments of creativity in hidden spaces: a quiet rooftop, a deserted corner of the office, anywhere the light felt right. Emma transformed Jack's passion for art into a visual language. Her ideas took form through vibrant colors and striking images. Together, they crafted a presentation, one that encapsulated Emma's brilliance. The day of the presentation finally arrived. Every detail felt fraught with significance. Jack's heart raced as he stood beside Emma, preparing to face the gathered executives. Would they embrace her creativity? Would her father stand in their way? As they stepped onto the stage, the room buzzed with muted whispers. Jack squeezed Emma's hand, grounding them both. This was more than just a presentation, it was a testament to their bond, their struggle, and the light they could create together. But just as Jack drew breath to speak, a shadow loomed at the doorway. Emma's father stepped in, a storm brewing behind his dark eyes. The tension was palpable, and Jack could feel his heart pounding in his chest. What would this confrontation mean for their dreams? Would they finally be heard, or crushed beneath the weight of expectations? The air quivered with uncertainty, and Jack braced himself, knowing they were about to step into the final showdown. Jack's heart thudded in his chest as he locked eyes with Emma's father. The atmosphere shifted, charged with unspoken words. The crowd grew quiet, anticipation thick in the air. It felt like standing on hot coals, each moment stretching into eternity. Emma's father squared his shoulders, scanning the audience as if assessing threats. You think you can come here and change my daughter? His voice boomed, resonating off the walls. You're just a janitor, Jack. What do you know about her life? The words stung, sharp as glass, but they only fueled Jack's determination. He glanced at Emma, her face a mix of anxiety and steadfast grace. She had come so far, and he refused to let her father's cold dismissal shatter their dreams. Just because I clean the floors doesn't mean I can't see the art in her soul, Jack replied, steadying his voice. We all have voices, even if they're muffled beneath layers of fear and expectation. Emma is that voice, a vibrant canvas waiting to be unleashed. A murmur passed through the gathered executives. Jack felt the shift, perhaps they were beginning to grasp the weight of his words. Their eyes flicked to Emma, where she stood poised and quietly powerful. Dad, Emma interjected sharply, her hands moving with urgent gestures. Listen to him. Please. Her frustration broke through the protective shell she had always worn. The gentle art of her silence was transformed into a powerful plea. Jack's heart fluttered at her bravery. It was a moment of vulnerability for her, but it was also a testament to how far they had come together. This wasn't just about him, it was about giving Emma the chance to finally be seen. The CEO's intensity faltered, if only for a fleeting second, an inkling of recognition crossing his face. But just as quickly, it was gone, replaced with a steely resolve. You think this is a game? There are consequences to every action, Jack. Life itself is a risk, Jack shot back. You taught her to be tough, to follow the expected path of success. But are you really prepared to see her thrive? Or is it just about control, maintaining an image? A ripple of surprise coursed through the room. Executives leaned forward, their expressions shifting. The onlookers wanted to know how this would end, they craved resolution. Emma's father faltered but quickly crafted a defensive retort. What you're asking could ruin everything I've built. Or it could make it better, Jack countered, the defiance in his voice growing stronger. This is about more than legacy or profits. It's about giving Emma the chance to tell her story, and by extension, the stories of so many others silent and unheard. Silence enveloped the space again. The tension was palpable, and the weight of expectation was heavy on their shoulders. Jack stared into the eyes of Emma's father, each passing second feeling like a lifetime. This was a pivotal moment, a moment charged with potential, ready to erupt. Jack felt Emma squeeze his hand, a silent vow they shared. If her father couldn't see that, then perhaps he needed a different perspective, a view that could show him the transformative power of love and creativity. But just as he prepared to push further, a small voice from the back of the room broke through the tension. What's wrong with wanting to be heard? It was one of the junior executives, her expression earnest, capturing the room's attention. As all eyes turned towards her, Jack's heart raced again. Perhaps this was the spark they needed, the tide beginning to shift. Would this moment bring clarity and understanding? Or would it plunge them deeper into conflict? The confrontation loomed larger than ever, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. A single question hung heavily in the air: what price were they willing to pay for Emma's voice to finally be heard? Emma's father's gaze flickered from Jack to the junior executive, disbelief etching itself onto his features. And you think this is about being heard? He scoffed, his voice dripping with disdain. The world doesn't care about feelings or stories. It's about results. Jack felt fire flicker within him, sparking again even against the heavy weight of the CEO's dismissive words. But that's where you're wrong, he shot back, each word punching through the stale air. People connect through stories, Dad. Each success is built on moments of vulnerability. Why can't she share her own? Emma's father struggled to maintain his composure, the cracks in his facade starting to show. The team around him was hanging on to every word, the tension stretching, ready to snap. Jack sensed he had planted a seed of doubt, something the CEO couldn't just brush aside. Dad, Emma's voice sliced through the room again, softer yet resolute. You're right. I need to succeed, but I need to succeed for me. Her words came out in a rush, spilling honesty that felt like the sun coming out after a storm. Not for the image or the money, but for who I am. Jack's heart swelled. This was Emma unguarded, pouring her heart out. The murmurs in the room grew louder, the audience captivated by her raw openness. For the first time in so long, Jack felt hope whisper in his chest. Why does it have to be a choice between what you think looks good and what will genuinely make me happy? Emma pressed, her voice rising now, catching fire. All I want is a chance to find my own voice. Emma's father stiffened. And what do you think that will get you? His tone was still sharp, but threads of uncertainty wove through his stance. This isn't a fantasy. No, it's not, Jack interjected, stepping forward with a determination that felt like steel. But this is a reality worth fighting for. It's about embracing who she can be, not the reflection of what you want her to be. The CEO's jaw clenched, his eyes darting to the executives. Doubt lingered in their expressions. They were witnessing a clash not just between Jack and Emma's father, but between an unyielding past and an uncertain future. "Look around," Jack urged, gesturing to the faces in the crowd, brightened by Emma's courage. "These people are inspired. They want more than just profits, they want to connect and to feel." Emma's father hesitated, the silence pregnant with possibilities. Jack could see the wheels turning in his mind, every moment etched in time, weighed down by history and obligation. For once, he looked less like a king on his throne and more like a man grappling with fear. "Emma," the CEO finally began, an edge of wrestled control in his voice. "You have to understand, I understand more than you think," she interrupted, her gaze fierce yet vulnerable. "I just need you to trust that I can make my own choices." "Trust?" he repeated, as if the word was foreign in his mouth. "What do you know about trust when you've never been given a chance to make mistakes?" Jack felt a shift, a tiny fracture in the wall between them. He stepped closer, daring to challenge the boundaries of their unyielding battle. "Let her breathe, let her make those mistakes. Isn't that what life's about?" The room remained a tense tableau, breaths caught as everyone watched the heavy decision play out in front of them. Could Emma's father yield? Would he see the light, however dim, in the hope his daughter carried? As the silence stretched long, Jack's heart raced. This was the moment of truth, one that held the potential to redefine their lives forever. Would Emma's father soften, or would the weight of tradition drag them back to suffocation? Just as Jack opened his mouth to speak again, the sound of a phone ringing sliced through the air. It echoed ominously, jolting everyone from their reverie. Emma's father reached for his pocket, a flicker of irritation darting across his brow. "Excuse me," he muttered, backing away, leaving Jack and Emma standing in the wake of the charged moment. The uncertainty hung heavy like a dark cloud, a shadow shadowing their future. Jack turned to Emma, their eyes locking. The flicker of hope was still alive, but now doubt crept in. "What happens now?" As the words left his mouth, the phone rang again, and not just once, an urgent, frantic chorus. Emma's breath hitched, a mixture of relief and apprehension. Jack squeezed her hand tighter, bracing for the answer to come that might route their lives down an entirely new path. What revelation awaited them on the other side of that call? The CEO stepped away from them, his brow furrowed as he answered the call, his voice low and tense. Jack and Emma watched, their hearts pounding in tandem. The room was still, anticipation hanging thick in the air. "Dad?" Emma whispered, her eyes darting nervously towards the retreating figure. "What if it's bad news?" "I'm not sure." Jack's voice was steady, but doubt flickered in his chest. "All we can do is wait." He could see the worry tugging at Emma's features, pulling her back from the edge of the moment they had just shared. Emma bit her lip, struggling against the swell of anxiety. "Do you think he heard me? Do you think he'll even care?" Jack moved closer, cupping her face gently in his hands. "He has to hear you, we just have to believe that your words meant enough to him, even if he's fighting it. You are strong, Emma. Why does it feel like this could go either way?" Her voice trembled slightly, the vulnerability slipping through the cracks. "That's life, isn't it?" Jack replied, trying to inject confidence into his tone. "Nothing worth fighting for ever comes easy." He turned momentarily, stealing glances at her father, still engaged in his phone call. "But I promise, no matter what happens, I'm right here." A few anxious moments passed, the unease muffling the air. The CEO was pacing, his expression hard to read. The murmurs from the other executives faded into whispers, but Jack could sense a ripple of unease rolling through them as they exchanged glances. Finally, Emma's father ended the call. He returned to them, his features painted in a mix of frustration and concern. "I have to take care of something," he announced, the authority in his voice almost unsettling in the current atmosphere. "You'll have to excuse me." Emma's heart sank. "Dad, wait." She took a step toward him. Can't we just talk about this one more time? He hesitated, an internal struggle playing out across his face. Jack could see the gears turning in the CEO's mind, battling with centuries of expectation, but pride weighed heavily on him. Not now, he said harshly, before turning on his heel and storming away. Jack watched Emma deflate beside him, her disappointment tangible. I didn't expect him to just change his mind, she said quietly, the fire from earlier subdued to an ember. But I thought that maybe it's not over yet, Jack interrupted, his conviction returning. Sometimes, the hardest people need time to digest what they heard. You made a dent today, Emma. You stood up to him. But Emma shook her head, feeling shattered. It doesn't feel like a victory when he walked away just then. A commotion from the back of the room startled them both. A janitor, a middle-aged man with a tired look and kind eyes, approached them cautiously, his mop still in hand. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, before catching Emma's gaze. In all the noise, you spoke the truth, he said, voice low but steady. I heard you. You have something special, young lady. Emma's eyes widened. Thank you. I know this might sound strange, but sometimes people like him only need to see someone about to break the mold, the janitor continued. You have to trust in your voice, keep pushing. Jack exchanged a look with Emma, both astonished and moved by this unexpected support. The janitor leaned closer. What if I told you I've got a chance for you to share that voice with more people? Something that could get his attention. Emma's brow furrowed in confusion. What do you mean? Before the janitor could respond, a heavy footfall interrupted them, a senior executive approaching with a hard expression, one that hinted at more than just business. Jack felt a sinking feeling as he spotted the glint in the executive's eyes, a sign that the disruption was far from over. Emma, the executive called brusquely, the CEO wants you to meet him immediately to discuss recent performance, and your future. Emma's breath caught in her throat, panic spiraling. Can I take a moment? No, the executive replied, eyes fixed with purpose. This is important. Jack held Emma's hand tightly as they began to move toward the door. What will he say? Emma whispered, a mixture of hope and fear lacing her words. Jack could only squeeze her hand tighter, unsure of how the answers would unfold. A moment of truth loomed ahead, one that might just change everything they had fought for. As they stepped into the hallway, the weight of uncertainty settled around them like a fog. What direction would this pivotal conversation take? Would Emma's father truly listen this time, or was it just another chance to push her back into silence? The long hallway seemed to stretch endlessly as they walked. Emma's heart raced, but with every step, it felt as if the distance grew heavier. Jack could sense her tension increasing, the way her fingers clawed at his hand, the way her breath quickened as they neared the CEO's office. They paused outside the door, a stark contrast to the buzz of the rest of the office. It felt like a different world entirely. Jack cast a quick look at Emma's face. She looked pale, haunted even. Just breathe, he murmured. You've got this. Yeah, easy for you to say, she joked, but her voice wavered. What if he doesn't hear me this time? What if it's worse? He wanted to reassure her more, to say that everything would be fine, but he didn't know if he believed it. You fought too hard to let fear win now. Just let him know how you feel. Speak from your heart. Emma sighed, a forced smile playing on her lips. Right. Simple enough. With a deep breath, she straightened her back and nodded affirmatively, her determination flickering back to life. Jack admired her courage. He understood the stakes were high, not just for her but for their future too. Finally, the door swung open. The CEO stood inside, his face a mask of seriousness. Come in. His voice carried authority but also an unexpected undercurrent of concern. Emma stepped forward first, hesitating just outside the office. Jack could feel her nerves like a live wire. He gently nudged her inside. The room was vast, adorned with expensive art and sleek furniture. It had an air of command, the kind that could intimidate anyone. Emma, meet me at my desk, her father ordered, gesturing toward the imposing furniture. She moved slowly, every step bringing with it a wave of uncertainty. Jack stayed close, unwilling to let her face this alone. Your performance has been lacking, he began, his tone chilling. You let personal matters interfere with your work. That cannot continue. Emma's heart sank. It felt like déjà vu. There was no sign of acknowledgement for the bravery she'd shown earlier. Dad, I know it's been hard, but Emma. He shouted, cutting her off. I didn't call you in here to discuss feelings. This is about your career. I need you to focus. The company cannot afford distractions. Every word was a slap in the face. Emma's breath caught, but for the first time, something magical flickered behind her eyes. You don't understand. I can't just be your daughter, a pawn in your business game. I need to be heard. At that moment, she felt an unexpected surge of power. Words she had bottled up were breaking free, spilling out into the space between them. I love this company, but I won't be a silent shadow in your success. I have ideas. I have passion. Can you not see that? The CEO blinked, taken off guard for a fraction of a second. That surprised spark was all it took for the tension in the room to shift. Emma pressed on, you must recognize the people behind the numbers. We're not just employees. We have voices. I have a voice. Jack watched in awe as she bared her soul to her father, the man whose approval she had always craved. This time, her words did not bounce off the walls like they had before, they forged a connection, however fragile. The room fell silent. Emma's courage hung in the air, palpable and raw. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the CEO's expression softened slightly. You really believe that, don't you? Dad, I need you to believe it, too, she replied, her voice wavering with hope that a moment stretched between them then, filled with emotion unspoken. Would he finally see her? Would he finally listen? Just as Jack thought the conversation was about to pivot, the office phone rang, shattering the delicate atmosphere. The CEO's demeanor shifted once more as he glanced at the caller ID, his brow furrowing. Excuse me, he said quickly, stepping back to answer. Emma felt her heart sink again. Just when it felt like progress was on the horizon, another interruption. Jack squeezed her hand, unsure of what waited on the other side of all this. You did amazing, he whispered as the CEO turned away. I can't keep doing this. What if it's never enough? Emma sighed, fear creeping back, but before Jack could respond, the door swung open. The janitor's surprised face peeked around the corner. Emma, there's something you need to hear, he said, urgency lacing his tone. Jack and Emma exchanged a glance, curiosity igniting anew. What did he mean? Now? She asked, a rush of dread mixed with possibility. Yes. It's important. He urged, eyes darting towards the CEO. As the janitor stepped closer, uncertainty twisted in Emma's stomach. Had their fight truly just begun? Would this unexpected moment lead her to a revelation that would change everything? There it was again, the weight of everything they fought for, hanging in the balance. Emma's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to process what was happening. The janitor's urgent tone swept through the air, charging it with an electric tension. She exchanged another look with Jack, who was just as perplexed. What do you mean? What is going on? She pressed, pulling her hand away from Jack's to step closer to the janitor. Just listen to me, Emma. You have to know this. It's about your father and the company. It's important, he insisted, taking a casual glance behind him as if to ensure they weren't being overheard. Can't it wait? She glanced at the door, half expecting her father to re-enter, but the ringing phone continued its relentless demand for attention. No, it can't. It might be the reason you're feeling lost. The janitor's eyes gleamed with urgency, compelling Emma in a way she didn't quite understand. What do you know about my father? She asked, feeling a mix of irritation and intrigue bubble up within her. I've seen him. I'm in this building a lot more than you think. You're not just a name or a number to him, Emma. I know that much. The janitor's voice softened. But even the strongest people have weaknesses, and sometimes someone has to remind them of what they've forgotten. Emma felt a sinking realization in the pit of her stomach. What exactly do you mean? Without missing a beat, he took a breath, as if preparing to divulge a well-guarded secret. I saw your dad lose it the other day after a meeting. He slammed his fist on the table. Things can get rough up there. He's under a lot of pressure, but he won't say that. He doesn't know how to communicate it. You might think he's just an iron wall, but he's a man with fears, too. Hearing this, her feelings began to shift again, a mixture of empathy and frustration stirring within her. But he won't listen, he never has. Emma shot back, feeling the fight rise again. The janitor took a small step forward, lowering his voice. What if he needs just as much courage as you do? You're both fighting for something different, you for your voice, him for respect and control. Emma opened her mouth to argue, but found herself hesitating. Could it be true? Had she simply written off her father as a tyrant without seeing the full picture? Jack, watching the exchange with rapt attention, sensed the tension ebbing and flowing like a tide. What do you think, Emma? He asked softly, encouraging her to reflect on what was being said. I don't know, Emma admitted, frustration flooding back. What if I speak my truth again and it doesn't matter? What if I just make things worse? Then at least you know you tried, the janitor said, his sincerity cutting through the noise of her doubts. But if he's afraid to lose the company and lose you, then maybe you both have more in common than you think. For a small moment, Emma considered his words as silence enveloped them. Her heart, once loaded with anxiety, began to pull her in a different direction. Was she brave enough to confront her father again? To not only push against his walls but to also see behind them? The ringing phone faded into the background. Just then, the CEO re-entered the room, his expression shifting from focused to confused. What is going on here? Emma's stomach tightened. She took a deep breath. This was it. Would she let fear win or rise to meet the moment together with Jack? Dad, I need to talk to you. I think we've both been running in circles. Caught in a moment of anticipation, Jack's gaze stayed on Emma, willing her to take that leap. Just then, the janitor stepped back, glancing between the family in a way that seemed to affirm Emma's decision. Would her voice finally be heard? Or would this confrontation only lead to more silence? In the back of her mind, something shifted deeper, a realization that the path to clarity was now only opening in front of her, even if it was rocky. Emma's heart raced, but she held on to it, poised at the edge of the answer she'd been seeking for so long. Would it deliver her from misery or lead her to a new, uncharted battleground? As she steeled herself for their conversation, she wondered what secrets lay hidden beneath the weight of their shared struggles. Emma, what is it? Her father asked, a hint of annoyance creeping into his voice. He stepped further into the room, scanning the three of them like a hawk surveying its territory. I need to talk to you, she insisted, her throat tightening. It was now or never. We've been dancing around the same issues. You act like the company is everything, but, what about us? What about me? His confusion morphed into something sharper. Is this about the project proposal you submitted last week? I told you, we can revisit that after. No. It's not about work. It's about us. About you. Emma interrupted, the words spilling out faster than she could think. The pressure you're under, the expectations you have, none of it matters if it means losing sight of who we are as a family. She could see Jack holding his breath, tensing beside her, but she couldn't look away from her father. He had the power to either meet her halfway or shut her down completely. I'm doing what I have to do to keep this company afloat, he shot back, frustration etched across his features. You have to understand that. It's bigger than you or me. Just like you think I'm just a number to you. She snapped back, her heart pounding in her chest. I'm not just your daughter when it's convenient. The silence that followed hung in the air like a thick fog, wrapping around them, tightening the space. She couldn't tell if he was shocked or simply blindsided. The janitor's earlier words echoed in her mind about courage, about fears. Her father's expression shifted, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Is that really how you see it? Yes. Emma exclaimed. You could have told me anything. You could have let me in, but instead, you chose to shut me out. The anger bubbled up, but beneath it, she felt the edges of sadness creeping in. She wanted to connect, but the walls were so high. Emma, it's complicated, he replied, his voice dropping an octave as he leaned against the conference table, the weight of his position evident in his posture. You're not the only one struggling here. Then let us struggle together. She pleaded, feeling tears prick at her eyes. I want to help. I want to be part of this, to understand what you're going through. But it feels like you don't want me around unless it's good news. An all too familiar tension shrouded the room, a silent recognition that things had shifted. She could see Jack's eyes widen, a mix of admiration and concern. Her father began, his voice faltering. He was fighting something, a battle she couldn't see, but felt. I didn't want you to worry about me. I thought I could spare you from the burden. Emma's heart softened, realizing their barriers had only isolated them more. Dad, I'm already carrying this burden alone. Why can't we carry it together? The janitor, watching through the door, held his breath as if waiting for a shot to go off in the tense atmosphere. The three of them were locked in this moment, the shadows of their problems pressing heavily against the glow of the fluorescent lights. Finally, her father straightened, a newfound determination igniting in his gaze. What do you suggest we do then? The question hung between them, an invitation and a challenge all at once. She knew this could be a turning point or another dead end. That's the thing, she whispered, eyes locked onto his. We can figure this out together. I believe we can find a way past the walls. Jack's supportive presence grounded her, giving her strength. Would her father seize this chance? Or would the moment dissolve into the helplessness they both had felt for so long? A question lingered in the air like a soft echo. What would emerge from their confrontation, an understanding, or a fracture that could pull them further apart? And as she took a breath, steeling herself for her father's response, she felt the weight of their collective silence press down on her. Would this lead to healing, or another misstep in a delicate dance of unspoken words and unshared fears? Emma's heart raced as she held her father's gaze, the air thick with unsaid words and hopeful anticipation. The flickering fluorescent lights overhead buzzed, almost drowning out the ticking of the clock, a constant reminder of the time slipping away. I don't want to be just your daughter by title, she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to be part of your life, Dad, not just the company's. His expression softened, the lines on his forehead easing, just slightly. Okay, he said slowly, but where do we even begin? Let us start by taking a breath, she replied. We need to be honest. All those late nights at the office, they can't just be about survival. If it's not working for you, we need to talk about it. What are you feeling? He ran a hand through his hair, the tension easing momentarily in his shoulders. Emma almost didn't believe it. Was he really willing to open up? I'm scared, he confessed at last. Scared of failing everyone. The company, your future. My father's legacy. Emma felt a pang of empathy shoot through her. Dad, you're more than just this company. And your legacy? It's us. We're your family. You've got to know that, she urged gently, leaning forward. Jack shifted beside her, his fingers brushing against hers, lending her silent support. But every decision I make, it always seems to put a wall between us, he replied, sadness threading his words. Then let us bring those walls down, Emma said, pouring her heart into the moment. Let us start from now and build a future where we're all in it together. You don't have to shoulder this alone. The silence that followed filled with hope and uncertainty. In that moment, she could see something softening in her father, just a crack in the impenetrable armor he had worn for so long. "Okay, I'll try," he said finally, the weight of his admission palpable in the charged air. "We take this one step at a time." Emma smiled, buoyed by that small victory. One step at a time sounds great. Maybe we can even have dinner together this week, just the three of us. Talk more, share more. Jack nodded enthusiastically. "Count me in. I'd love to spend more time together." As her father considered the idea, the corner of his mouth twitched, a flicker of something resembling a smile. "All right. Let us set it up." But before Emma could savor her triumph, the soft sound of the doorknob turn disrupted their moment. The janitor walked in, an unexpected intrusion that felt like a rush of cold air. He paused, taking in the scene the charged energy, the lingering hope. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, an apologetic smile crossing his face, "but I couldn't help but hear some of what was said. I know it's South not my place, but if you're looking to connect more as a family, a little honesty goes a long way." Emma turned, surprised yet intrigued by the janitor's sudden interjection. He leaned against the door frame, a knowing look in his eyes. "Sometimes the burdens we carry are heavier than we realize," he continued, slowly. "And sometimes, a different perspective helps put everything in its proper place." Her father frowned, uncertain, but Emma sensed there was wisdom in the janitor's words. What did he know? What did he see? Could it be possible, she thought, her mind racing, that his view on family dynamics could lead to something even greater for them all? As the janitor stepped forward, Emma felt the air shift once more. This encounter might not end with just dinner plans. The connection they forged today could unveil unexpected truths, a crossroad of possibilities that could change everything. Maybe, she whispered to herself, this isn't just about understanding each other, but truly discovering what it means to be a family. And as she glanced between her father and the janitor, she felt the pulse of excitement build once more. What revelations lay ahead? What truths would surface between them all? The moment felt alive with opportunities, and Emma sensed they were on the brink of something monumental. The days following that pivotal meeting remained charged with anticipation. Emma's heart fluttered with an odd mix of hope and anxiety. Jack stood beside her in solidarity, radiating warmth and support as they navigated this new chapter. One evening, they gathered around a small table in a cozy restaurant, deep within a charming neighborhood that felt worlds apart from the cool corporate facade Emma was accustomed to. Jack intertwined his fingers with hers beneath the table, silently holding her steady for what they were about to unravel. Her father, looking slightly less rigid, arrived to find them in light conversation, the walls momentarily down. "Tonight is just about us," Emma said, reinforcing the bond they were forming. "We can talk about anything, not just business." As her heart raced, she felt the familiar flicker of determination ignite within her. "Okay," her father replied, a hint of hesitation lingering in his voice. "Let us begin there." Jack took a deep breath, sensing the opportunity to steer the conversation. "How about we share a few things we value? I think that could help us understand each other better." Emma nodded enthusiastically, her spirits rising as she shot Jack an appreciative glance. "I got lost in the company for so long, it felt like everything I did was for survival," her father finally opened up, vulnerability sneaking into his hardened exterior. "I was trapped in this cycle of expectations." Emma, overwhelmed with empathy, leaned in closer. "If we want this family to thrive, we need to pull back the curtains and be honest." Slowly, she revealed her own struggles, the dreams she felt suffocated beneath expectations. "All I ever wanted was to be heard and known for who I am, not just for my role at the company." Silence enveloped the table for a moment, heavy with realization. Her father glanced sideways at Jack, his expression shifting. He seemed to recognize Jack not as the janitor who cleaned his floors, but as an ally actively championing Emma's voice. Your passion has been inspiring, he finally admitted, his tone weighty with contemplation. I didn't understand that until today. Tears pricked at Emma's eyes, but this time they were tears of gratitude. Maybe we can combine our strengths, Dad. Imagine the stories we can tell. They all leaned closer, their hearts beginning to align. Jack spoke up, what if we use the company to elevate others like us, those who feel lost? We can create workshops, programs dedicated to fostering everyone's voices. The idea hung in the air, slowly blooming with possibility. Her father's eyes gleamed with something akin to hope, a paradigm shift brewing. That could be the beginning of a real legacy, he murmured thoughtfully. One that speaks to more than just profits, one that speaks to people. Conviction washed over Emma, her spirit soaring. Would the tide truly turn? What they had built together was more than just a simple family dinner, it was a collective commitment to step into the light together, embracing their individual paths while finding unity in their shared values. It's a start, Emma affirmed, a radiant smile splitting her face as they looked at each other, vision aligned. Together, we can create a culture of understanding, of trust. Her father nodded, the barriers between them weakening before her very eyes. Hopeful murmurs from fellow diners floated around them as Jack shared anecdotes about his evocative experiences with Emma and the changes they could inspire. Everybody deserves that chance to share their voice, and we can pave the way, he added, the conviction lacing his words resonating deeply, and so, what began as a janitor's brave inquiry transformed into a powerful momentum, a collaboration that represented more than just a company. They set forth on a joint mission to break down the walls of isolation, self-doubt, and expectations holding them captive. As the evening continued, laughter erupted, dreams were shared, and futures unwound in front of each other, painted with vivid possibilities. It was like watching the dawn break over a darkened sky. Illuminating everything in its path, Emma reached for her father's hand, feeling their coming together solidify something profoundly precious. They no longer needed to fight against one another. The journey toward healing had begun, the potential for authentic connections between them had finally ignited. Here's to new beginnings, Jack raised his glass, sharing in this unique celebration. They echoed the sentiment, and as their glasses clinked, Emma couldn't help but smile, heart swelling with joy. In that moment, they all felt free-forged allies, side by side, unwavering in their resolve. Together, they could not just change their destinies, but create a legacy that rippled far deeper than corporate success, sowing seeds of hope and transformation for others. As they transitioned into this new chapter, Emma realized she had finally found her voice, and not just for herself, but for so many others who longed for connection and expression. So this is the moment where I ask you to be part of this incredible journey. You need to subscribe now to stay connected with these exclusive stories of transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help us reach more people. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this journey of hope and connection. Together, let us inspire change and uplift voices everywhere.